It is Tuesday, June 6th, 7 p.m., and we are gathering for our Finance Committee meeting. First item on the agenda is the monthly review of the attorney fees. For March 2023, we have a total invoice of $23,090.44, of which more than half of that is labor negotiations, which we would expect given that we have, gone through a few weeks of labor negotiations there. Very small amount, $252 to Oprah requests. Later in the meeting, when we go over the annual contract renewals, we will see a renewal there for the out-of-house attorney firm Porzio to continue with them for another year. And I think it remains the recommendation of the committee, and it'll be bubbling up to the full board, that, we're content with what is happening with services from out-of-house attorney versus in-house attorney, and moving along through that process. Any questions?
I have a question. Have you gone out to other attorneys? And you're saying that you think the committee, I wouldn't agree because I don't know the gentleman. And I've only been working with them for like 6 months. Have you gone out and checked other attorneys in the area and see if they're cheaper? Or, he's missed a couple meetings, he sent somebody that really didn't know what he was talking about. So one older gentleman. Excuse me?
From their firm. So it's not, we don't hire Mr. Gagliardi, we hire the firm.
Right, but still, did you go out and check other firms to represent?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know that they're the same as like an auditing firm because of sort of the intimacy. They were hired like 3-4 years ago.
Not by this board.
Not even by.
But it doesn't mean we have to keep them. If we can find somebody that has a good reputation that's cheaper.
Do you have any recommendations?
I have a couple that I know about.
Yeah, well, let us know. We're definitely would look at rates if there was some significant difference. Did we find out, Ms. Dallin, if the rates were the same or
The same
increased?
for the partner. The paralegals are $10 higher an hour.
In the new contract compared to the existing contract?
Then other people that you checked
they're
out.
not-
From last year.
From
this
last
current
year?
into next year, there's a $10 increase per hour for paraprofessionals.
Okay.
If I may.
Mhm.
So when we work with attorneys, I think they're not like an audit firm that just comes in and does one-time audit. I think that the relationships that you develop are very important. All of the attorneys that I work with, because I do deal with all of them, if Mr. Gagliardi is not available, have been excellent. They're immediate. Their information is available not only through verbal, but they immediately follow with email.
And the rates have been stable, which is
I think that
kind of what would lead us to trigger a search, right? If suddenly
But
we
stable, stable to surrounding districts that have
They've been the
different
same fee
attorneys?
for the last 4 years.
Stable with them, I understand, but what about with regards to other districts around that have other attorneys? How do they rate amongst theirs when they're charging? Has anyone investigated that? That was my concern.
I believe was my understanding, if I may, the previous, because it was not this board, but the prior boards, I believe, did do an investigation. It was my understanding, just as a principal in the audience, I was not part in as well. But I believe at that time they did, and you might be able to speak more on it. I know that you aren't the business administrator. I think at the time, financially, they did do a comparisons, because I think that's how they got Porzio, if I'm not mistaken, and their rates haven't changed in 4 years.
How many years? 4 years?
Yeah.
You've had them for 4 years?
Yes.
Previous to
at least 3
2021.
not going on.
Who did you have before Porzio? Can I ask?
Internal.
Oh, that's right, you had Ms. Smith, internal.
And we looked at hiring internal, we went through a whole process, and then the board decided to stay with an external in Porzio. Mr. Gagliardi hasn't missed meetings. We've been informed when he's not, it doesn't fit in his schedule.
It's conflict.
They've sent other representatives from their firm that do know our district. Mr. Bausch
I deal with all of them.
successfully negotiated the.
They're education law
contract.
attorneys, so we'll get
The
it.
last gentleman we had, the elderly gentleman, I can't remember, is that Mr. Bausch? I
Yeah.
don't know. He was very knowledgeable, very good, but there was a young gentleman that really wasn't as knowledgeable as that
He's
gentleman.
very knowledgeable in the day-to-day.
He's quite exceptional. That's Mr. Gisler, and I think what happened was, I think for the particular issues at hand, that some questions, because we're a very unusual public forum, unlike many other districts, I think when they ask certain questions, but I deal with him not daily, because I try and keep my costs down. I try and make the decisions without them, but when I have to deal with him, he's exceptional. We deal with him on a regular
Okay,
basis.
I mean, I just don't know them, you
Yeah,
know,
well,
as
you know,
well as you guys.
And
do,
I
so-
think as a person at the helm currently, I do have concerns about just starting with someone new.